Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we continued on with the Lacon Majoris fights, and we will continue with Stage 3.
The web of heresy and corruption is spun by powerful beings and perverted minds. Hunt their leaders, and this construct of evil will come crashing down.
Imperial reconnaissance forces located. Potentially useful assets, but their current situation is terminal. Immediate action required. Reconnaissance force relieved. Sent basic, follow and protect order to the survivors.
Man, a Plague Marine Havoc, I haven't seen one of those in a good while. One thing I want to talk about, I was thinking about this for a while. Can we get a round of applause and respect for Tyranids? And whoever created the Tyranids? Because they're pretty cool. I mean, the fact that the Hive Fleets are adaptive for a video game, they'd be amazing. Because you could fight, in theory, the same group a dozen times, and depending on the Hive Fleet or just for time, they can evolve and be a varying threat. And that's really cool. Plus, I saw there was a conversion a guy made, replacing heads so that they're xenomorphs, and that is the coolest conversion I've seen for Tyranids. And considering there isn't really much you can do for Tyranid conversions, you know, they're not Space Marines, where you can swap an armor plate and make them completely different, or take any Earth culture and change them up. Tyranids are a bit more of a kind of set-in-stone appearance. So seeing any variation is cool. It's like I saw a guy who converted, it was Necrons, essentially making them like wood instead of metal. Or they were overgrown with plants, which I thought was really cool. I love the idea of a Necron group that instead of making it into a tomb, where just ended up getting left outside and are all rusted and all choked up with plants. I think it's a really cool idea. I love when people do conversions and their own little twists on the appearance of these factions. It's so good.
Damnation is eternal.
For the Emperor! Ready to fight!
But yeah, Tyranids. Tyranids are cool. Although they kind of get the short end of the stick when it comes to Space Hulk. As much as people love Space Hulk, I kind of think Space Hulk sucks. Not because of the idea is fantastic. Travel through these masses of ships that have been combined through crashes and warps, and just, clear it out. It's just the the Terminators are the dumbest. I've said this before. You're sending in your thickest, widest, slowest, heaviest guys to go into locations that are 9 times out of 10 only wide enough for your shoulders. So, if something appears in front of you, your front man gets to shoot. Everybody else gets to stand and wait and go, man, I hope that guy doesn't die, and if he does, then I get to shoot. That's such a... Oh my god, I hate that. Because it's such a thing where it's, it's an acolytes. It's the easiest way to deal with this. Oh, hey, new guys, here's some training, don't die, but we're gonna let you just kind of run and do whatever. Oh, there's Chaos? Well, congratulations, you get to try to fight Chaos. Oh, there's Gene Stealers? Congrats, you can fight Gene Stealers. Orcs? Second verse, same as the first. You know, that would be a lot more interesting. And this actually ties back to the idea I had a few episodes ago with a board game and tying some miniatures into it and getting people to progressively buy miniatures for the game that can also be used in general wargaming. Do that. Have expansions. Oh my god. If Games Workshop was like, hey, we like your idea. Would you like to make this for us? I'd be like, hell yeah. I'll do this. I can do this easily. I would do it myself normally, but that requires money and time, and I don't have either. I can make time, but then I kind of need money. And also I have no idea what you need to do for manufacturing, licensing, and every other fun little part that I don't really understand entirely.
No pity.
At your command.
One concern I would have, though, is just how Games Workshop handles specialist games. I mean, I do admit I am basing it off of old stuff, like Dreadfleet. But it's still the fact that this stuff got just flat out abandoned. That said, I understand Dreadfleet. Not a whole lot you could really do. It was getting old. But I look at some of the newer stuff, like, what is it, Fighter Bomber? Or whatever it is where you have the Orc planes and the Imperial Guard Thunderbird? I can't remember their air vehicles, but it's air combat. I worry because there's a good chance that's going to just get dropped at any minute. Which sucks because you could start doing every other faction. It's not like any one faction doesn't have air vehicles.
Loading.
Tyranids can easily have, I think it's gargoyles, or introduce some new stuff. Same thing with Chaos. You can have, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a something Drake. They look really cool. I will say that. They look super cool. But they could do something like that. There's literally everyone. You could do fighters for Necrons. And if you really wanted to cut corners, just reuse the vehicles that they have for space. It's a giant or crescent ship. It looks like a flying croissant. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, why does the big space one look like the small atmospheric one? Because it streamlines the process. If it handles good in space and it can handle good in air, why wouldn't you do both? No sense in having the Necrons reinvent the wheel. Or the plane, in this case. Okay, shock and hit isn't bad, but I get the feeling it's gonna be worse than what I have. And that armor, just, no.
Only corruption lies beyond the veil. There is nothing but suffering and death beneath the stars.
I was just thinking about, like, the specialist game and all that. And I was like, oh yeah, once again, like I said before, they'd have to cut costs on miniatures to make the game more appealing to a broader audience. And then I remembered the holiday commemorative miniature they're selling right now. The Red Gobbo, so it's essentially a goblin on a squig, and it's like Santa, effectively, but Santa Goblin, for $35. I was like, does this guy even come with rules? Can I use him in an army? Is this just a, hey, it's Santa God? Because that, it's just like Kill Team. $35 for a miniature. That is just a kick in the nuts. You know, flat out, spread your legs, no cup on, steel toe boots, straight to the gonads. Because I can look at the cost on, you know, one of these start collecting boxes. Imperial Guard, with the Leman Russ tank and guardsmen and setup team and a commissar, and I can guarantee $35 is better spent towards that set than it is for one commemorative goblin. It's just, it floors me because on one hand I understand Games Workshop is the biggest miniatures company, like wargaming company there is right now, to my knowledge. I get it. But, dear God, it's like they want to openly tarnish their reputation by charging egregious costs. I've watched other YouTubers who are like, yeah, I don't like giving Games Workshop my money because of stuff like this, with the goblins and the stuff that went on with the Astartes guy and all this Warhammer Plus stuff. And I can't blame them. You know, there's a line between reasonable pricing and absolutely absurd. And it very frequently hits absurd levels. And that's not to say with all the other stuff when it comes to 40K and gaming. You know, how many bad Warhammer games have we gotten? How many good Warhammer games have we gotten? I mean, I've said it before, when it comes to 40K, the last good 40K games we've had would be this. You know, it's pretty damn good. It's a good ARPG. You have Battlefleet Gothic, and well, Battlefleet Gothic Armada and Armada 2. You have Space Marine. And you have Dawn of War 2? I think that's it. Like, Dawn of War 2 came out in 2009. Space Marine came out 2011, 2012. Then you have, you know, this. It's been a couple years now. You have Gothic, Armada, and Armada 2. Those have been the past few years. And you just get a lot of crap in between. And that's amazing because I enjoyed Hired Gun, but I still don't think it was a good game. It was held back by a lot of design choices, a lot of issues when it came to the game. I think a lot of them were just, you know, the curse of not having enough time or money. So I'm not going to give the devs too much flack for it. I understand. But there were ideas in that game that just never seemed to reach completion. You know, gear having rarities and ranks and stuff, archaeotech and the elements, the repeatability of missions and faction rep, stuff like that, where it feels like every one of those could have gone in a different direction and been very good for the game. I mean, it makes me really sad to think about what could have been for that game. Hired Gun could have been absolutely phenomenal, but it failed on a number of fronts. And that's kind of what prompted me to see with a lot of these games. Or there was one, it was like a Space Wolf game. I saw it on Steam and I'm like, oh cool. And then I remembered, this is a mobile game they just put on Steam. I had that on my phone for a while. Or I haven't played it, but people say Mechanicus is pretty good. The one where you're a bunch of AdMech dudes fighting Necrons. I've heard that's pretty good. I don't know. XCOM games, they're hit and miss in my eyes. I think some of them are really good, and some of them they just kind of follow the most baseline XCOM design. They're like, yep, that's the game. I mean, that can even be said about XCOM. Look at XCOM 2. That game is pretty boring unless you mod ever living hell out of it. That's why I like Phoenix Point better. And Phoenix Point has a lot of issues, but it felt more like a proper old school XCOM. And I'm not one of the guys who's like, oh, I started with, UFO defense. Nah, I started with Enemy Unknown. And even I can recognize the older XCOMs, Xenonauts, XCOM Apocalypse, Terror from the Deep, stuff like that. They're really good. They're just old. It's kind of why I'm worried with this new, what is it called? I can't remember. It's the Grey Knight game. That's going to be XCOM-ish. There's cool stuff like, oh, you can knock over a pillar. Like, okay, cool, I can squash a dude.
Once again, the enemies
but
of the
is it going to be
Imperium
useful?
failed miserably.
Is it going to be the equivalent of, Battlefield 4 Revolution, where you do it once and you're like, cool, I've seen that, now I don't care? Or is it going to be something where it's really useful? Is it going to be too powerful, not powerful enough? Is it going to be something where it's so situational that you're going to be like, hey, I've done 40 missions and I haven't seen a pillar I can topple that actually helps me? I don't know. Battle Sector doesn't look too bad, though. I'll give Battle Sector benefit of the doubt. Of recent 40K games, it seems pretty good. I don't know how much it is for, the monetization aspect. Because I've heard, oh, they're adding new factions, and I'm thinking, is this, campaign-wise, or is this just multiplayer? Is there skirmish modes? What's the deal? Because depending on that could actually be worthwhile, and depending on how much they charge. If it's you can get Sisters of Battle, pay us $29.99, I'm gonna be like, no, you're an idiot. That's an absurd amount for one faction. What's in the box? Okay. Berserk tokens. Actually, a Berserk token generator. I still think it sucks, but it is a token generator, and we don't see those very often. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.